So much of this is really back to that issue of faith, that particularly when we go into difficult churches, my experience is that often as the consultant, we're the ones going in with eyes of faith, because we're often going into churches where the pastors really have given up, or new leaders have come in and they're overwhelmed already. But to see beyond the mountain, to see what God could do in that church, sometimes as the consultant, you're the only one in the room who has that sense of vision and direction and hope, because everybody else just sees the problem, and you see the difficulties and the circumstances of the church more than you see the God who is bigger than the church. So I do think as consultants, if we're truly walking with God, living in His Word, trusting His Word, believing His Word, that we can go into the biggest messes and still bring hope and faith to that helps a pastor say, I can get up and walk forward again. It's this picture for me. One of my favorite books in the New Testament is 1 Corinthians. And I'll tell you why. Because Paul starts that book by saying to the Corinthians, I thank God for you. I thank God that you're gifted. And he gives them some praise. He ends the book by saying, with a very intimate closing, I love you, almost as if I love you with all of my being. So he starts by saying, I thank God for you. He ends with saying, I love you. And everything else in between, he says, you're an absolute mess. And that's the church. And our calling is to go into absolute messes sometimes, going in saying, I thank God for you, going out saying, I love you with all of my being. And God's going to do something in you that not a one of us can do, but we believe God can and God will. And that's all about faith.